You were hoping for your pension fund to be there for you when you retire. That was a pleasant dream, but I'm here to bring you back to reality. The cuts have come. More cuts are coming. There's no other option. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the pension fund crisis in the US. It continues to get worse. You barely see any information about this in the mainstream media, and even the alternative news tends to shy away. But I've covered this here regularly at the Money GPS, and the reason I continue to cover it is because so many people are passionate about it. So I will continue to bring the information out. So let's get into this. Next crisis in finance may be public pensions, according to this $1.2 trillion asset manager. All right. What he's worried about? Swelling shortfalls in U.S. public pensions. Now, he talks about the public pensions here, and of course I'll have my focus on that. But understand that it's not just the public pensions that are a problem. It is all pensions. There are very, very few solvent ones, and that's going by the numbers that they are providing. So just imagine, if you were going to look for what's the possible real crack in the financial architecture for the next crisis, rather than looking in the rearview mirror, pension funds would be on our list. We're worried about the pension obligations. This is something that I've talked about consistently here on the channel. You've heard me rant on and on about this. You have to understand that we have equities, we got bonds, we've got real estate. Of course, they generally don't buy real estate, they buy paper, but they can diversify. But oftentimes, many people aren't seeing what's beyond that. So who's buying all of these different bonds and stocks and everything else? Well, the pensions are a big chunk of that. But remember something. These pension funds have real people behind it. And unfortunately, if they have to admit a loss, suddenly they're underfunded. And if they're underfunded, well, quite frankly, it's simple mathematics. They have to cut back on the amount they pay people. Now, the average person will say, no, they won't. That's impossible. But I will tell you right now, in the next crisis, there will come a time where we will see more, because we've already had some, more cuts to pensions. Lawmakers from New Jersey to Illinois to California are struggling to fill the shortfalls. U.S. public pensions had, I don't believe this for a second, 71.8% of assets required to meet obligations to retirees as of June 2016. All right. They're claiming they have over 70%. I'm sure it is significantly less. I guess they're counting IOUs. Is that how they do it? All right. Asset allocation. Over the years, we've seen more and more focus and concentration on U.S. equities. I mean, it's pretty obvious the way things are going. More people are turning over to the equities or leaving the fixed income. Bonds are being dumped, and as a result, you're seeing more into the equities. You're seeing, different central banks who are acting as hedge funds. They're doing the same thing. You're witnessing this globally. Doesn't mean that fixed income is necessarily, not going to be a massive bubble in itself. No, it just means that more money is flowing there. And why is that the case? Central banks are buying up the equities. You also have the fact that they see more performance there. They're willing to bet that these companies are going to perform better in an environment where fixed income oftentimes isn't really much income at all. I mean, you look at some of these governments around the world offering negative yield. I mean, if you are worried about performance, you have to get into something that's going to provide you some income. And equities obviously performing very well. That's where the money flows. So that's the asset allocation. You can see the different circles here. It's an interesting graph regardless, but I just wanted to highlight the equity specifically. On the left-hand side, system reported funded ratio at most recent measurement date. So they're talking about how I would consider unfunded. 9 plans have funded ratios higher than 90%. Okay, I don't really believe that, but that's what they say. And 59 plans have funded ratios between 60 to 90. 32 plans have funded ratios lower than 60%. Okay, most of them are probably in this category here, I would have to believe. And my assumption here, this is an assumption, is that they're going to be considering things like IOUs. And for example, we'll put it off into the future, right? We have this asset, we've leased it out, but it's considered to be ours, and therefore we'll consider it here. Things of this nature. This is not a fact. I'm suggesting here something that probably happens, just like with all their gold. They lease out the gold, but they still claim to own it. It doesn't really work like that, really, of course, because that's never coming back. And then we look at this. You remember I covered not that long ago California. The governor of California said, in the next crisis, we will have to reform entitlements, pensions. We will have to make cuts. He said that, his own words. If you don't believe it, I've covered it here before. You can look back at my previous videos. California governor candidates dodge pension cuts that Brown foresees. Of course, they're not going to talk about that. They want to actually get voted in. They're going to tell everybody, vote for me, and I'll make sure you get your pension. Now, it doesn't matter that they'll actually cut back. Of course not, because once they're already in, they don't need to worry. They don't worry about the pitchforks and torches. California's retirement costs climb. Contributions to public pension systems will double next year from fiscal 2012. You can see here, it doesn't really matter what the issue that is presented at any given moment. We are going to see that costs will increase. We're going to see that the amount that they are asking from people will increase. And it's a simple matter of fact. You don't have the money to fill these holes. It's a simple matter of fact. But let's forget about fact and let's just talk about some silliness that we see on television. Sears' case shows the risk of defined benefit pensions for employees. So you can see that this company, Sears, big department store, it went the way of the dodo bird, and truthfully couldn't compete. I won't get into the details, but essentially the people got screwed over. Severance payout gone. Employees face possibility of reduced pension. That's just the way it goes. The people are not going to get what they were hoping. They are, negotiating back and forth. Doesn't matter. Let's think about this for a second. Person's retiring. They're going to get their pension plan, let's just say $1,000. And let's just say the government old age pension, they're going to get that times 2. So they got $2,000, right? Great. All right. With this $2,000, they're going to be able to pay for all their living expenses, right? But what if, and these are, of course, numbers I'm just making up. What if, your food bills increase by, I don't know, let's say 10%, okay? Over a couple years, 10% increase. What if your electricity increases by, let's just say, 5 or 10%. I'm just talking about it over like a 5-year period or so. Very reasonable numbers. It's actually much more than that. And then you have at the same time, so you're seeing your expenses increase. That's basically what I'm trying to point out. But at the same time, what if instead of this $1,000 that you thought you were going to receive, suddenly it was $800? What would happen? Well, all of a sudden, you're getting squeezed from the top and the bottom. And that's not good. When you get it from both sides, you get the inflationary pressures, you get the deflation from your wages or your source of income, and the average person is going to be squeezed out. Lights out for a lot of these people, unfortunately. Christy Panel says, only benefit cuts can fix New Jersey pension fund. Wait a second. Pension cuts? Is that what we're talking about? Uh-oh. Ohio's biggest public pension fund looking at benefit cuts. This is from 2017 as well. People have to go out and protest. Don't cut back on our pensions. Keep your promises. Of course. Of course. They're going to do it. They're going to cut back. They've been doing it in instances, whether it's public or private, doesn't matter. And the simple matter of fact is, it's only a matter of time before it becomes a widespread issue. And some people may complain, they may, try to wreak havoc on the city. But ultimately, if it was 1,000 and they're getting 800, they're going to remain calm because they're still getting 800. I don't want to be a bother. I want to keep my 800. Well, this is all going to end very badly for people. And this is why, in part, I'm doing the Money GPS. In part, why I talk about public pensions. And in part, why I talk about the average person. Okay, if you want trade analysis, you want to be able to know which stock to trade in between 11 and 12 tomorrow, you've made this, by watching these videos, you've made it clear to me that you don't want that information from this channel. I'm not going to bring that type of stuff to you. That is, there's a lot of people out there talking about that. I'm talking about the common man. I'm talking about how to protect yourself. And I wrote 2 books about it, but I know a lot of people don't want to read the books. That's fine. I have a lot of free information. Number 1, I would say the free e-course is great place to start for people. If you're not aware of that, it's available on my website, themoneyGPS.com. Just click on free e-course. You can watch all the videos there. And number 2 is the how-to and solutions. It's a playlist that I've been adding to consistently. It's available on the Money GPS YouTube channel, so you can go to my YouTube channel, just scroll all the way to the bottom and look for how-to and solutions. These are some great places to start, and of course the books have much more detail, but for those who don't want to, can't afford it, don't want to read it, whatever, that's fine. This is some good free information for you. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to check out the books, of course you can do so. They are at Amazon, and the links are in the description below. Take care.